Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about some of the people that make the sneaker history community and this podcast possible. It's more important than ever to think about who you give your money to when you're buying clothing to go with your kicks. Our friends at Guilty Goods started their brand with a goal of giving back, especially to the communities that make sneaker culture possible. With every purchase from Guilty Goods, at least 10% of the proceeds are donated to organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Movement for Black Lives, and many more. You can save 30% on your order by using the code HISTORY at guiltygoods.us. Again, that's history at guiltygoods.us for 30% off, and you can feel good about your purchase knowing you're supporting a meaningful cause. Sneakers are all about presentation, and if you're like me, displaying your kicks at home or in the office is just as important as when they're on your feet. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase the entire side of the shoe, not just the heel or the toe, the whole shoe. They've also got display cases for trading card collectors and hat collectors. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save at least 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. If you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days. He's currently the defending champion in our community trivia nights competition. Kicks with V hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. You can save 10% on your order by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. Now, you're probably here because you like sneakers, and if you join the Discord, you know our community is about so much more than that. Whether it's the marathon-like community calls, trivia night debates, the in-person meetups, or just sharing our favorite experiences, we found that although we have such different backgrounds, we all have some unexpected shared passions. Not only does the entire community look out for each other when it comes to releases, we're like a support group for life in general. You can join the Discord community for free by heading to the show notes of this episode. After you're done listening to this episode, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Now let's get into today's episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move!
James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up, what up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. Officially back, 2022. I don't know what we're going to call this. Let's just call this Season 2, even though we've been doing this for, 2.5, 3 years. We never separated them into seasons before, so we're just going to say that starting now, this is Season 2, and then we'll move forward for the rest of them. But I got the whole crew with me. Rohit, Robbie, and Mike. What's good, fellas? How you guys doing?
Yo, I'm just happy to be back, fellas. It's a good day. It's a good day.
What up?
I'm good. What's up? Boya Chaka.
I like the Season 2 call out because I think some of my favorite comedy series, like they pick up in Season 2, i.e. The Office and Parks and Rec, and we can just kind of refer to that first year as the lost episodes. And I think the Beatles also kind of had that, right? Like the Liverpool years or the Germany years. So there we go.
The lost tapes.
Let's do it. Yep.
Exactly.
I don't think organizing's really ever been our thing. So
No.
I was like
2 different pants all the time.
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, speaking of disorganized, I've been waking up pretty early. I mean, I wake up pretty early anyway, but I've been consistently waking up early because I've been doing a little bit different work lately, just like project stuff. And I realized today, as I posted my picture of shoes on my Instagram account, that I'm actually wearing 2 different shades of sock. I have like a cream pair on my left foot and a white pair on my right foot. So, yeah, organization, not really important for us. We're just here to have a good time, right?
Not here for a long time, just for a good time.
Was one of the shades eggshell
Definitely a short
white
time.
by chance?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's super funny that happened to you. We'll get off this topic, but I tried to make a sale at StockX, and I didn't realize I put the wrong, like a cream shoelace and a white shoelace with my Jordan 1s that I was selling, because my ass is colorblind as hell. So, like, I keep all my spare laces in a big Ziploc. I don't keep them in the shoe boxes.
Okay.
I have a huge Ziploc bag that's full of laces. So I was like, oh, which one's white? Oh, this one's white. All right, this one's white. But no, one was eggshell, and they charged me $15 and said they'd refund me, and they didn't. So thanks, StockX. I'm not going to go headhunting for $15. I made a pretty good pretty good profit off those ones. But man, I'm colorblind.
Give a bro a little break.
Get off my back.
I choose to believe you saw the character of this the laces and not the color. Shout out to MLK.
Oh man.
All right, so we haven't been recording for the first time in a while. So I figure, Mike came ready with some rockin' and coppin'. So I think we need to do it proper and share a little rockin' and coppin' today.
Wait, hold up. I'm using my Zach Morris powers here to call a timeout and tell you about a couple of our partners. These are some of the folks that help us keep the podcast going, and they have some exclusive discounts just for our listeners. Now, if you're already subscribed to our YouTube channel, you know how I love to display my kicks when I'm not rocking them. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights and drop side cases to showcase the entire side of your shoe, not just the heel or the toe. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. Now, if you're a Patreon supporter and a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days, and his hot sauce has been a huge hit within the community. To celebrate the launch of his new coffee habanero flavor hot sauce, and my personal favorite, his new habanero honey, he's given an exclusive discount to our podcast listeners. You can save 10% by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast or becoming a partner with our community, get in touch with us. You can reach us by email at podcast@sneakerhistory.com. Or better yet, tell some of your favorite brands they should be sponsoring the podcast. All right, let's get back into today's episode.
All right, cool. Well, I guess I'll go first then. My rockin' has been the human-made Shoshona, which I will go on record. I don't care if it's a hot take or whatever. This is better than the Yeezy 450 in my opinion. So all you Yeezy stands, this is a better shoe, and it's on sale for like $124 in certain places. Coppin was my first L of 2020. I got to still find them, but the Watch the Throne LeBron 9s still on the list of things I want. And caught that first dreadful message from the sneakers app. So it is what it is.
I didn't even wake up for those. I wanted to. If I would have remembered, I would have. But I've been so far off of all the apps.
Not a bad thing.
Where it's just...
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing.
I hadn't even thought about it. I've been rocking the On Cloud Flyer waterproof. They sent me these. I wore them all this past weekend in Seattle. They did extremely well. Not one leak. That's one thing I will say. Of all the waterproof shoes I've had from On, I've had 3 pairs now, and none of them leak even a little bit. I'm outside for like hours on hours. Like we were walking around for, I think, 7 hours. One thing I don't like though, it's a little over branded. It's like here. It's a little much. I love the back one. It's like offset on the back heel. I think that looks really good, but 6 reflective is a bit much. I like them. They're comfortable, very comfortable, and they're very waterproof. So I was like, man, that's a lot for any brand, right?
Billboard you.
Yeah.
At any brand, it's like, man, that's a lot of logo.
Although at least the logo is a little abstract compared to like, imagine if you had like a pair of Nikes or an Asics or something with 6 logos, it'd just be like.
Imagine Nike puts this Nike print, this Nike all over, and I never buy any of those either. But if you're looking for a waterproof shoe, Cloud Flyer, great choice. And then Coppin, they're already mine, but I recommend you go cop these. It's the Nipsey Hussle RSX, the latest collab with him. I guess his estate at this point, but very cool. TMC on the back, but the super well-made shoe. I think a lot of people will say this about like the Asics that have been dropping, like the salmon toes. Materials matter when you have like a million pairs. So you have this like nice perforated mesh, this nice suede, 3M hits, nylon, leather. Everything just feels really good, right? And I think that matters more and more when you have like 5 options in front of you. And you're like, all right, well, they're all kind of the same shoe. They're all like kind of priced. These are like, I think 150. They're all kind of priced in that 120, 150 range. what's the difference maker?
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, it's like, well, that's a good ass looking shoe, like material wise. So
Dope.
go pick those up. Nick, I know you love Nips, so
Yeah, it's a good one.
if you're a Nip fan, it's still good. It's amazing how they keep dropping. Unlike Tupac albums, after his death, they've kept dropping good stuff, and that's a power to his estate for like not letting it drop off. Or I think some people kind of like Bob Marley merchandise, right? Is so like there's some good stuff. There's so much bad merchandise off of beloved people who've passed away.
Yeah,
and I think the Puma stuff keeps being good. So
yeah, I do think that it's worth like commending both his estate and Puma with that, right? Because you know, they've done a really good job. Even like the video that they launched with this release was really like, I mean, I was like tearing up. It was like that good. And that hasn't happened in a sneaker commercial type of thing in a really long time. I mean, obviously that's like I wake up to Nipsey Hussle every morning. So it like that's like my wake up song anyway. So like it's close to me no matter what. But like watching that was like, wow, like I even like reached out to Clyde and was just like, yo, I'm thankful that you guys are actually like taking care of this. You know, it's an important thing to take care of because we definitely live in a time, to your point, like Bob Marley is another one of those people that the legacy should have been protected and like held at a very high standard, in my opinion. And I think, you know, as people get, you know, incredibly famous and especially with the internet now, we end up with these weird kind of bootleg things and half-assed things that happen all over the place. So like for them to kind of still be owning that and having the partnership with Lauren London and his estate, it's like, you know, it's impressive that they've been able to do it without diminishing the quality or the message, in my opinion. Yeah.
And just, I mean, to wrap off that, it says I hustle on the side, on the tag. And that's such like a simple Nip thing, but it really does motivate me. It makes me like, it's just like, you don't have to have all the craziest fanfare and stuff, but it's saying like I hustle. It makes me want to hustle. And it's just like, I don't know, weird thing to say, but it's just like, dang, it's a good shoe. Like, let's go out there and hustle today.
Yeah, man. I agree. How about you, Rohit?
No, I mean, for me, last time I checked, my update won't be as poignant as Robbie's, but what I rocked when I was in Florida for the last couple of weeks was the Offline Mule 2.0, and it is very much a Hummer for your foot, and the packaging is that as well. And it was really funny because I was with family, and one of the biggest topics was the reemergence of the Taco Bell Mexican pizza in May 2022. And the reason was, I thought of you, Engvall. I took a packet of mild sauce and started pouring one out in your honor. But then it was also one of those things where the reason why apparently that the Mexican pizza was no longer on the menu was the packaging. And then I received the 2.0 packaging, and I'm like, goodness gracious, this could literally be a kid's playhouse. It is so big. It is so fluffy. And yeah, if somebody wants a comfortable slip-on sneaker, go ahead and do that. Not only for the for the slip-on, but also the actual packaging. And what I'm rocking, I just saw, I think on one of our listeners' Instagram, that they put some release dates forward for the Giannis collection for the Uno. And I think I may double dip and get another pair of Offline 2.0s because that Uno Offline 2.0 looks super sick and super vibrant. So.
Dang, I might need that too.
Nice, yeah. So let's see. Rockin'. What did I rock today? Oh man, I didn't bring them up. Today I wore the And One Tai Chi because Lance Stevenson just had one hell of a performance in the Tai Chi.
Ready.
And I was like,
just hit the guitar right there.
I was like, I need to pull out a pair of Tai Chis today. So I have the 20th anniversary Tai Chi. It's got like one of the coolest brandings on it. It's on my Instagram, but like
the barbed wire.
It's actually the chain link fence that. So it's like you know, it's like true hoops, right? It's like legit. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen any And One like in person type of things.
Nah.
But when they do any kind of event over the years, a lot of times what they'll do is bring in a chain link fence and like use it to either hang the hoop from it or shoes from it. Like it's always kind of like that playground vibe, right? So it was really cool to see that on a shoe. And that shoe came in like a 2-pack. So it came with like the 2 chillin' slip-ons. It's just like a like a perfect kind of homage to And One's legacy. But it's also one of those shoes that I just don't ever see anybody wear or post, or like, I don't even know if people remember that it came out because it was kind of low key. And like, let's be honest, we could probably all name one person and one person only that's going to spend $200 and some odd on a dual pack And One shoe, right? And we all know
only person I know already owns it.
I was like, I'm looking at you right now, Nick, but
I mean, I bought him, you know, like
who is Dick Engvall?
His cousin we don't talk about.
Yeah. But as far as COPPIN, these finally showed up.
Woohoo!
Oh, gorgeous.
Man,
so yeah, like the colors on this are just amazing to me. The leatherback Gel Light 5 from Ronnie Feig and Kith. You know, to Robbie's point about like the materials, I think, you know, I don't think these are as good as the originals in terms of quality, but they are far better than a lot of pairs of shoes in my collection. Yeah. But I love that this is not the split tongue of the A6 Gel Light 3. Like that kind of anomaly of the design, I think was really cool for quite a while. But like for me personally, it fits really weird. I'm like this weird in between size where if I get too small, you just see my sock in the middle of the shoe. Like if I wear a 12 or a 12 and a half, usually it folds out enough to see the sock. And if I'm wearing a 13, they almost always overlap. So it just looks awkward. So to get like, I'm hoping to get the salmon toes too, because the price has come down quite a bit. Yeah. But to get like two of, you know, probably my top two Ronnie Feig releases in, you know, a shoe that doesn't have to, that I would actually wear more, the Gel Light 5 is super dope. So I'm pretty stoked to have those. It is pretty wild that it took from Black Friday, I think is when those came out. Yep. And it's recording January 6th, and they just showed up today.
Oh, crap.
So
supply chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to go back to one of our last episodes because Robbie told me that those things were going to stay like $500. I have to tell you, I have to point out you were wrong, just so you know.
Nice.
I'm actually kind of surprised, though.
I just feel like just because it's one of those things, it's the older shoe. I think we just seen this kind of happen a lot of times. The older shoes come out kind of in a new version or just a reintroduction of it, and people don't seem to have the same affinity towards it, and they just kind of sit around, and you get better prices for people like us who actually want them. So I think it's a good thing for us, right?
Yeah.
Not mad about that. And Nick, it's so funny. Like, I also have a pair of Tai Chis, and those things don't fit well either. Just like design wise, it's like slipping your foot into like a bowl, like literally like a fish bowl. It's weird. It's just such a roomy ass shoe. And it's my proper size. They're a size 12, true to size. Yeah. And it's just like stepping into a bowl. Like those shoes, I will never get rid of them. They're the black and gold. They're ugly as hell, in my opinion. Yeah. But it's such a piece of sneaker history and like basketball history. Like, I can't get rid of the Tai Chis.
No,
man.
I was just gonna say it makes Vince Carter's dunk contest even more impressive that he did that on those shoes. So.
I mean, I would love to at some point talk to guys that actually play in them and see what they're wearing. Because to Robbie's point, right, like I have a pretty wide, just overall heavy, wide foot, right? So it works for me pretty nicely. But the problem with it is that the cushioning or the padding on the inside is not substantial enough. Mm-hmm. Like there's way too much of it, but it's almost too soft. So like the outside leather holds shape great. Fitment wise, it's pretty normal, but because it's not it gives too much on the inside, right? So it's like super roomy. Like the fishbowl analogy is great because it's like your foot fits in there, and normally almost every shoe has like cushioning that kind of sort of forms to your foot in some way, you know, but like they clearly haven't updated any of the technology from it, you know, since 2000 or 99, whenever they first came out. So it's just like, that's kind of what I love about And One is like, yeah, we're still playing the same courts. We're still releasing the same shoes.
It's forever 2003 in And One's mind, and we're here for it.
Right. You know, and honestly, like, you know, the year 2003 is one of my favorite Instagram accounts, you know, like that account just like posts fire every day. You know,
Hey,
you got a little bit of crazy Britney, a little bit of basketball, some early LeBron.
I think we got the Dipset freestyle. We're
Dipset, yeah. I mean, it's a good time to be a part of it. You know,
yeah, dude, that was some of the best basketball shorts money could buy. I remember I had like handfuls of them. I'm like, I would never get rid of them, except it was at the time you outgrow everything.
yeah,
True that.
Yep.
I still have a size medium and one tank top with like what they call them, the Phantom
Yeah.
guy. What's it called, the Phantom?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a classic
Yeah.
right
I'll
there,
finish off
man.
this topic.
I would love to have some more of
But
those.
good stuff. I mean, I think that brings us. I mean, I don't know what direction we particularly want to go in, but I've had like direction of sneakers in 2022 in my mind. I think that's what we kind of wanted the basis of this episode to be, like predictions going forwards, New Year's type stuff, right? And I think Nick bringing up the year 2003 is really interesting because I think now fashion is in like the 90s, right? It's become circular again, where like a lot of people talk about the Air Jordan 8 more than it's been talked about in a long time, just because 90s stuff looks cool again.
Yeah.
So we're only 10 years off of 2003. And I think that's an interesting place to start with, like where shoes are going, or where I see shoes going in 2022, is that like this 90s stuff, we're getting a penny retro here in like a month or so. There's going to be, there's always retro product releasing, but I think they're really going to be pushing retro penny stuff and like that 90s design, they being Nike. And I think other brands will also follow suit. We saw a retro mod of Gil Arenas' Adidas shoe coming out. They have retro mods of T-Max. They have retro mods of Derrick Rose shoe. So like, I think brands are going to really keep dipping in, especially as like newer stuff is harder to make in these times. They're going to be dipping more into nostalgia than I think normal.
Yeah.
I saw some really cool penny gear. It was like half cent, like little penny, not half cent, but like little penny themed gear, like jumpsuits and stuff, like all from the 90s. I think we're gonna see a lot of like 90s jumps, like a lot of 90s retro stuff. And I know Gil and T-Mac aren't 90, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so.
and I think that's an interesting kind of. I agree with you. I think to Mike's point, right? Like it's interesting because we're in this time where retro product from people within sneakers is not as important as it was, maybe in years past, right? Like we could all look back 5 years or 7 years or something and be like, yeah, that was like the retro runner craze. Like everybody was doing collabs. Everybody was releasing retro product for kind of like the first time. Like New Balance brought back a lot of crazy stuff with collaborations. Asics did a bunch of stuff with Ronnie Feig and with, concepts and stuff like that. And now we're kind of seeing like that fall off where, to your point, like that 90s and early 2000s stuff, I think is going to be really interesting to watch as like, like even, aside from the Gilbert Arenas and the T-Max stuff, I saw Adidas is bringing back like the EQT Elevation, which, that shoe, I mean, I love that shoe. Like I have that dunk contest shoe from the last time it retroed. It is terrible quality, but I paid like $40 for it on clearance because nobody was buying that stuff. Yeah. And I think it's cool that we're seeing people at least have the opportunity to kind of relive those moments. It'll be interesting to see how it works with Kobe and Adidas and all that now, because obviously just the energy around everything Kobe Bryant is different than what it was before, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But those types of things I think will be, kind of like, kind of taking that a step further. Like one of the things I was thinking about, talking about tonight with you guys is like, I almost feel like this year we should shift a little more forward in what we focus on to talk about, because there's this weird in-between space, right? There's this like, cool, you're going to talk about Jordan retros because it's Jordan retros. We all love that stuff, and we all get excited when there's a color we want. Like, I've sworn off Jordan 1s probably 20 times on this show, and then I see like the Hoyas 85 editions, and I'm like, all right, sign me up. Like, how do I get a pair of those, But that era of like late 90s, early 2000s is like not quite nostalgia for the old generation. It's not quite old enough to be nostalgia for the younger generation. And like there's this like in between world that, to Robbie's point, I think that's where like fashion is landing, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's like, oh, people forgot about these kind of things. So now it's cool again to find them. And I'm kind of excited to see that happen. Hopefully, I think we can expand, you know, in like directions that kind of include those things where, you know, normally we wouldn't consider doing like a whole episode on something like that. But I think we could definitely go down these kind of rabbit holes with some of these products. And I don't want to dismiss like, you know, like the early 90s and late 80s stuff, because obviously that's like the era for me to like be nostalgic about. But like thinking about like even like the flight lights or whatever that Scottie Pippen wore in the Olympics, and like seeing all that stuff just get like mass produced in mass colorway, you know, like I love that shoe, but I don't want to see 20 colorways of it, because I just don't like, there's not a reason for me to get excited about it to that extent.
Yeah.
Like, and that's tough. Like on the manufacturing side, I get it. But like, look, once you've seen like a Bulls colorway and a USA colorway, do you really need more of that shoe? Are there enough people out there that are like, give me a Miami Nights black and pink and teal version of that shoe?
No, it does seem a bit Mad Libs, lack of a better term, right? Because you're essentially taking a modern colorway, let's say, and applying it to a retro shoe. And to me, it's kind of serving no particular master in a sense, but at times, at the very best, people are going to cop it, and at the very worst, which seems more likely, people are going to be like, this just doesn't fit the aesthetic or the mood or that era's vibe, so to speak. One of the things I thought coming into this year was, is this the year we see nostalgia die a little in that sense? Because it's one of those things that every year I'm like, are we finally going to get sick and tired of being young again? And like, we're going to want something that reflects what we are in the moment about now. But retros are retros, and hell, that's part of the reason why our podcast is called the Sneaker History Podcast, and it's not current events. So,
well, I mean, Rohit, you bring up a fantastic point on that. Like, I think eventually some styles are going to have to start just like dying out. It's like, how many times can we feel like a kid? But this particular situation with the Penny 2, I feel like Penny is so beloved, and I think Nike's done a very good job keeping their hands off of the Penny stuff for the right amount of time. Like, we get Penny every couple years, very certain models, not a lot of overlap. And I think that's all great because it keeps people like me very interested, and my ears perk up when I hear, oh, Penny 2's coming back. I missed that 5, 6, 7 years ago when it came back. Yeah. And then we get like the original, allegedly like the original OG white home pair. You know, there's going to be like stuff that just like, Penny is so powerful. I think maybe some Jordan fatigue, maybe some LeBron fatigue. There's going to be other brand fatigue, but like, damn it, people love Penny Hardaway.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because I feel like they're going to push a lot of Penny this year because there's already rumors of a Stussy and Penny 5 collaboration, or they haven't really given you a real model yet, but there's been some whispers of a Stussy and insert Penny model here collaboration. You know, that once they start doing that, you know they're going to start pushing colorways, because there was a few years back when the Penny 1, I swear every time you looked up there was a new color of it, from like the Miami colors to, like Nick was saying, throwing my Miami Night colorway on it, whatever it may be. There was a lot of it, but I'm really seeing that a lot of things are going back to original basketball. I really feel like this coming year. So we get the Penny 1 coming back in home colorway, which is very coveted by, you know, Penny fans or people that era. They really like that shoe. But we have some also. Adidas is really looking to push that historical basketball with D-Rose 4s, D-Rose 1.5s. You get the Resta mods like the T-Mac 3 and 1. The Gilbert Arenas is coming out. So I wonder if we're going to get back to that golden era, which I think is that the basketball sneaker, if that's going to be something that, you know, market research has shown that people are starting to fall in love again with. Because, I mean, my favorite time in basketball, or my favorite time in shoes was that 2000, let's say 9 through 2013, 14, when Nike basketball and other basketball sneakers around it were like the thing, because that's just a shoe I really do love. So I wonder if we're going to find ourselves back in kind of that cycle, as opposed to dunk, 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 Jordan 1, dunk, 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 and, fill in the blank there.
Yeah, the three wise men era, like when it was KD, Kobe, and LeBron every weekend, and you just kind of had to make that choice of, okay, this weekend I'm going for a KD. And yeah, I think that is going to be a very interesting one as well, because it goes back to the overarching theme that we were discussing. KD's rookie year was not that far back, and it's going to be interesting to hear a 12-year-old be like, yeah, man, KD's rookie year was just so great. And I'm like, yeah, how was teething for you, young man?
Who are you? You don't want to go here.
Yeah, but I mean, like we saw it right now with the Watch of Thrones 9, and I think ultimately it comes down to the execution and people realizing that yes, there is fatigue around certain models of certain colorways, but if you dip deeper in the bag, and I think to the point that Robbie had also made, like give it the Disney Vault treatment, right? When we were growing up, there was always that caveat of, hey, we are going to put the Lion King in the vault for the foreseeable future, so cop it now. Yeah. And I thought there was something similar around, I think the Jordan 3s a couple years ago, where they're like, hey, no more Jordan 3s for a little bit, just so you can kind of feel that hunger for it again. So when we do come back, the floodgates are open. So
yeah. I mean, I think there is a lot of fatigue around, I mean, even like to Robbie's like point in like previous conversations around like the Dunks and Jordan 1s, right? Like you don't go into the year thinking you're going to end up buying 10 or 15 pairs of Dunks.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
you find a way.
You find a way, right? and then you kind of back off a little bit and realize, like, am I ever going to really need 15 pair? Okay, let me back it off to 10, 9, whatever that is for you comfortably, right? We all have a different comfort level with that, right? Like, but I think that it's really fascinating to think about, like, taking that same thought process from the business side and being like, cool, let's do this with flight lights. Let's do this with, hopefully they never do it with LeBron retros. Like, hopefully they like, I think there's like consumer fatigue in terms of like how many colorways of things come out. And granted, like Dunks and Jordan 1s are the perfect, arguably the top two shoes for colors, palettes. Like everybody could have 20 or 30 pairs and be super stoked about every pair, in my opinion. Yeah. But the worst thing about that approach is when you get like, I don't know if you guys saw the pink for red Jordan 6 rings or the like teal Jordan 6 rings. Because what happens is,
I like the 6 ring, but I didn't see that color.
So I'm not like a fan of the 6 rings, but I don't hate it the way a lot of like the OG, purists do. But what frustrates me is you almost have like this, you almost have like an approach that comes from Nike typically, because they're the best in the business, right? And they're like, okay, cool. We figured out how to get people to buy the same shoe in a new color every 3 weeks, whatever that is. You go a whole year, and now it's like, I assume that like people in the business are like, well, we got to hit numbers. How do we hit numbers with Jordans? Well, the average person just wants a pair of patent leather, shiny 6 rings. Mm-hmm. Why don't we just take all the colors that we have from over here, move them over here, and let them fly, Because then when somebody goes into a Foot Locker, they end up seeing, oh, wow, that's a crazy shiny. Oh, and it's on sale? Yeah, that's a great one. Like, and then we have pink for red.
God, I'm glad I've never seen that color, because that sounds absolutely awful. But when they come out with things like the Concord 6 rings or like the cool gray 6 rings, I think that they're cool with hooping. I may not wear them on the daily, but I'm kind of in the same boat as Robbie. Like, there's not a bad shoe, but it's just there's so much.
I'm being a hater, but the pink for red actually looks good. It's just pink with some infrared.
Oh, that color just made my head hurt. I was like, I can't even fathom that color combination.
No, I'm going to name my daughter's middle name as Pink for Red, just because I hate the name so much. So
I think it's genius. But like, so you can release 30 colors of a Dunk and 30 colors of a Jordan 1 because the consumer is not going to hit on 30 pairs. So like, you have to put 30 ones out there to lure people in 30 times for them to maybe get X amount. But to like the fatigue of Jordan 1s and stuff, I just did it inside my closet and I opened up every pair of Jordan 1s I had. And God damn it, I was happy every time I opened up that box. I swear to God. And then I think that's what it comes down to, like either being addicted or a true fan, or just like really loving shoes. But I was like, oh, these are nice.
It's a mixture of all three, though.
Bro, you own these. Like, of course they're not. Like, you've had these.
That's amazing, though, that you can still go back into your room and say, I opened this up, I haven't opened it in a while, and still have that feeling of, like, I appreciate it. You're not out there just like, I'm copping shoes and, next thing. You actually have an appreciation for it, which is an amazing feeling. Like, I did the same thing. So shout out to Chris over in our Canada boy over with the Sneaker Podcast. He actually sent me a pair of these D-Rose 1.5s. I've seen this shoe a million times. I never had the All-Star one. But I open these up like a kid, like in Christmas, because it's something I can appreciate. So just like you, Robbie, locking down the Jordan 1s, like, man, I really love these. I hope the fatigue of just getting these, just like you went into, Lowe's and saw all the paint Pantones everywhere. That's kind of what we're getting at this point. It's like, how many colors can we fit inside this sneaker store or this website and make people buy them, as opposed to giving us those things that actually are meaningful. And that's one of the things I want to be better at with this year, is just being more curated and more purposeful with my purchases. And that sounds really too deep for sneakers, but for what we do and the things we do on the outside, like with my channel, the YouTube, I want to be more purposeful. I don't want to necessarily buy this because it's popular, may get a ton of views just because of it's the Jordan 1. I want to make sure I actually like it, because I had a point where I started getting sick of shoes. But I was able to sell some off that I wasn't using, give some to some, family members who, want them, maybe couldn't afford them. So I felt good about doing that, but I just want to be more purposeful and curated what I actually put in the hand and not waste money, basically.
I mean, it can be easy to waste money, especially with the newer things. I think, Ro, you brought up, like, there used to be a point where you'd want the LeBron, Kobe, or KD, like, pick your choice this weekend. I think in 2022, people are going to get further and further away from, I think, the Kobe, because we have to. He doesn't count. We would buy Kobe's all day. But like the LeBrons, the KDs, the Kyries, I think those are going to actually be overtaken in 2022 by the LaMelo Ball and by like the Jordan performance stuff. Call me crazy, Russell Westbrook's shoes have been good for a minute. Yeah. There's a lot of good signature shoes. And I think what LaMelo is doing right now with Puma, and then the not oversaturation and slow rollout of Russ's stuff, Dame's slow rollout of his stuff. I mean, I think Adidas basketball has been killing it for 2 years, but like, I think the Dame stuff, the Donovan Mitchell stuff, the LaMelo, these younger players are going to have, like, they're really going to list, like, well, forget LeBrons. I don't want LeBrons anymore. My dad wears LeBrons. I want to go get the LaMelos. I think we're going to see even more of that.
I can agree with that.
This year.
I can agree with that. That's where they're going back to the old LeBrons, because no one's tripping, falling over themselves like Ro was mentioning. Like, I remember when those LeBron was at 9, like Black History Month, I was in line before I went to work to try to get the shoe. No one's doing that for a new LeBron model. No shade to the shoe. I think it's a good looking shoe to 19, but we know that in a couple months we can just wait and get it on sale because it's performance. But these younger guys out there, I feel like the thought process is kind of reverting back to seeing it on court, seeing the kind of swagger and style these guys put on the court, in the tunnel, whatever it may be, and even getting back to some actual marketing, whether it be TV or internet, whatever it is. They're making you want to buy the shoe you're interested in because it's something we hadn't seen before. So I really do agree with you, Robbie. I think that's something we can see really take over some of the, again, Kobe not included because we'll buy it all the time, but the other big stars like the Giannis, the Kyrie, the LeBrons, PGs, we've seen them already. Now we're ready for the new set of kids to come through and really show the innovation and show the cool things they have.
I think Giannis is still safe. I'll pass it off to somebody else, but Giannis is still young and fresh. Like, Giannis is fun still for the kids. But you're 100% right. Go ahead. I just want to say that. Giannis is still fun.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. Giannis is kind of picked up the mantle from Kyrie, right? Because Kyrie used to be the guy that had the very fun, adventurous colorways. It was cereal. It was SpongeBob. It was this. It was that. And I credit Giannis's ascent to like that upper echelon of, let's say he's probably a top 25 player now, based on not only what he was able to do, but also the backstory of him and kind of watching him go through. And this is probably the closest comparison I could think of, is similar to what Dirk went through when he finally got that ring. And Giannis became that person where he's now in that rare company because his last name is so damn hard to pronounce that he's Giannis and people know who Giannis is. And it's going to be really interesting as well because there is a changing of the guard. And if we're following the attention of, let's say, the NBA in the 75th season, it makes sense to me that we are now focusing on that next generation of stars because whether any of us like to admit it or not, we are kind of seeing LeBron in his last dance years, whether that's at LA or another team that we haven't seen yet. But it is that changing of the guard, and I'm always of the opinion I'd rather have a changing of the guard 1 year too soon than 1 year too late because we kind of had that awkwardness in that time period that we alluded to earlier in this episode where 2003 was great for us, but that was kind of one of those years where Jordan had come back, but the comeback didn't feel genuine, and they were just clamoring for somebody new. And Iverson was a little too hood. Kobe had some of his troubles at that point in time, so he wasn't able to really grab that conch, so to speak. It took LeBron being this once-in-a-lifetime king who was promised, that whenever I have this conversation with folk, I say this about LeBron James. He is the one thing in my lifetime that superseded the hype and actually performed. And you may dislike LeBron as a person, you may dislike him as a basketball person, you may dislike him as a businessman, but he has lived up to everything we thought and then some. And the great thing about this current generation of kids are they have a much better job of paying homage to history but not letting it overwhelm them, because so much of early LeBron is, I'm just humbled to see Jordan. LaMelo Ball, dude doesn't give a fuck. He's going to go out and get his no matter who's in front of him. And that's something that connects with this young consumer. And it kind of also bridges the gap because whether we'd like to admit it or not, that's something we kind of emboldened ourselves about liking Jordan so much because Jordan had that cutthroatness about him.
Totally. I 100% agree because I look at like LaMelo is the perfect example of that too, where it's to your point about Iverson, right? It's like there's this like arrogance and hoodness about him, but he was absolutely respectful of the game and the people before him, right? Like, but I also think that almost hurt him in the long run, right? Like, he had those moments where he crossed over Jordan, and he had those moments where, he got a game in on the Lakers, but most of his career, and maybe it's personal, stuff that he's dealing with, and maybe it's just the way that he was emotionally dealing with playing against his idols. I feel like the upfront mentality from like a LaMelo is like kind of what's needed in the next generation of the NBA, right? Like you almost need somebody that's like, look, I've been telling you I could beat you since I was 15 years old and I'm finally here to beat you. Yeah. Like that's it. Like everything I do is to say that I will beat you. I am here to kick your ass. I've been telling you I've been coming, and even off the court, right? I mean, he shows up wearing the craziest stuff that the normal NBA rules, referring back to the 75 and the greatness and all of this stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I love all that stuff, right? Like, I love seeing these guys just get like almost like starstruck every time to this day that you see a LeBron talk to a Bill Russell or something like that, right? Like, that's a beautiful thing and something that I don't think any of us can really truly understand what that means when you consider like the legacy of the game and the legacy of the players throughout those different eras. But I also think that like the internet brought in a completely different beast of humanity as a whole. And I think that LaMelo almost represents that in a lot of ways because of how outspoken his dad was, because, like I personally was a doubter. Like I didn't think LaMelo was going to be as good as he is.
Me either.
Yeah,
basically because the two other brothers didn't live up to the hype, right? And to Rohit's point, like LeBron has literally been the only person on the planet, in my opinion, that has never ever doubted, never ever disappointed in living up to the hype. He has been better than everything that he was supposed to be in all aspects of life, depending on how you view his personal preferences and beliefs and stuff. But like, as far as performance, as far as a business person, as far as basketball, like, I don't think you could ever say that he's been less than what he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And somehow, like, I mean, I know it's young, but like LaMelo is right there right now. And like, I never thought I would be watching him, especially in Charlotte. Like, I never thought I'd be like looking forward to seeing him play like this. And I do. And I'm a casual NBA fan at this point at best, right? Like, I follow the Kings games almost every game, but otherwise I don't get into other games because I just haven't had the time. But like every day I'm like, what's going on in Charlotte? What's LaMelo doing? Are there highlights that I'm going to need to be seeing from this, And I haven't felt that way in a long time.
Between LaMelo and Ja Morant, I really like the fact that they're trying to be their own two individuals. Because when you look at a lot of these other guys out there, and I was sitting there thinking about this, I was watching the Celtic and Knicks game a few minutes ago before we got on. I realized that I cannot be like the Celtics, their young core is so unlikable to me for some reason. I can't put my finger on it, but it's because they all, especially Jason Tatum, I know he had a connection with Kobe, which is great, but everyone seems like at this point, since, even before Kobe's passing, was always trying to be the second coming to Kobe. Oh, I worked with them. I haven't got the Mamba mentality, blah, 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 which that was Kobe's. Find your own thing. I feel like everyone's trying to be the second coming of fill in the blank, LeBron, Kobe, whoever it is. But Ja Morant and LaMelo Ball are like, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to come in and wreck you. I think Ja Morant said it the other day. I don't care if you're 7'7", you can get it. Like, I'm coming to the hole on you. So I just respect all that. And I hope Ja Morant gets his own shoe. He deserves it more than Jason Tatum does. I'm sorry to say it. I think Tatum is literally, that's the best he's going to be. And I don't like the Celtics.
I mean, I hope that's just like a maturing factor, right? Mm-hmm. Like there was a lot of that with Kobe when he first came into the league, right? He was arrogant as hell, but he was also,
he backed it up.
I mean, almost move for move mimicking MJ too, right? So, I mean, I think like Ja is like one of the few players that I feel like, and LaMelo, obviously, like, I feel like, those are the two that stand out. Everyone else, with the exception of, like, I think Devin Booker is, like, absolutely incredible. I think he's kind of fallen into that same, kind of almost trap that you're talking about, where it was like you're so attached to, Kobe and Kobe's game that, like, don't get me wrong, it's great. Like,
of course,
if you're going to model your game after somebody, like, there's only 3 people in the world you should be maybe modeling your game after, right? Yeah. Like, as a player with that kind of skill. But I hope that he kind of evolves into his own, like, because he's got tons of swagger off the court. He does a bunch of cool shit. He's obviously like living the dream. Yeah. And I just see it as like, he's another one of those players that could potentially, I mean, Chris Paul's not going to be around much longer, right? Same, like if LeBron's not going to be around much longer, Chris Paul's definitely got to go in the next few years as well. And, personal feelings aside, even he's just, he's getting up there in age, and like Book is like one of those guys that should be able to lead a team to a championship in the next 10 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, he should be able to. I completely agree. He has a skill set to do it.
So let's bring this back to sneakers a little bit.
I was going to circle it around. I had an idea though, just because to circle it around, I'm going to put some names out there. Tell me if in 2022 we get if we do or do not get an announced signature shoe. So let's start with Devin Booker. 2022, does he have a signature shoe announced?
No. Not yet.
No. Okay. How about this next person? How about Jason Tatum?
I've already heard he's going to have one from him on some podcast. So apparently, yeah.
You think it's happening?
Towards the end of the year,
Luka.
I think.
You think Luka's going to get one?
He should.
But they're using him to push the pro model. So I think no.
No. And I think Ja is also a very interesting one to ask, because he's just so young. And if you look at his numbers from last year to this year, he'd be a great person to announce, especially with what's going on with Kyrie. Who knows what's going on with Kyrie? Who knows what's going on with Paul George's line? Do you think Ja Morant might be the next Nike person? I think he's very likely.
I want to say yes, but I feel like they're not going to give it to him. I don't know why, but I feel like he's going to have to move brands before he gets a signature shoe.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, honestly. Like, Look, if LaMelo actually sells shoes, the hardest thing about the signature shoe is actually selling the shoe, right? Because we can talk about all this all day long, but the reality of us buying more than one or two player signature shoes every year is pretty unlikely. But I think Ja is gonna be in a position where he's going to be in a position the same that, a D Wade was, right? Where you've already had the experience with these deals. Do you want to stick with a Nike and potentially get a signature shoe, but not have the marketing budget and the backing to make it really successful? And I think that's where his, he seems like a smart enough dude and surrounded by good enough people to understand how that works, where so many people just get excited about, look, free Nikes and money. Who doesn't want that, right? Yeah. But if you're thinking about your own personal legacy, like he's setting himself up where, a Puma or a Li-Ning or even a New Balance could be a huge opportunity for him to step out. And, it's got to be up to those brands to actually put together like a good shoe and good marketing to make it successful, right? Like, and you could argue what successful is, because look, D Wade is making tons of money selling shoes, but he's barely selling any in the States. So
check, still cash. Yeah. What's super interesting is I think Ja's young enough and to like a point where it's like, all right, you going on D Rose a little early. Unfortunately, health didn't work out the same way, but they took that risk, and it worked out really well until his legs stopped working. I think it wouldn't be a dumb idea for Nike to look at Ja and be like, man, you're really from 1 to 2, you're killing it. Let's put it out there.
Yeah, they should.
So we'll have to see.
Like, I think it'd be a good business move for them to do it, but I feel like they're just getting oversaturated in the sense of they got a lot of talent, and just so happens that he's just not on the team that's going to be marketable. And I think they take that into consideration.
I don't think we're going to see a pandemic P6 with Paul George 6. That's what it would be. Yeah, I think that line, I've heard in one place or another that line is done. Not even in a bad way, not because of design or anything, just Paul George doesn't move units like that. I think it's done. Yeah. Kyrie, I think, is going to keep getting left out of 2022 marketing by Nike. He's mysteriously out of a lot of stuff. I don't know if you've noticed that, but Kyrie is not being photoed a lot. So I think taking a risk, it's not even that big of a risk. Ja, Booker, 2022.
Makes sense. I agree with you. It makes perfect sense to put them in, insert them into where those spaces are left empty. But I don't know what Nike's, their thought process is. That's kind of where I'm left. Like,
I also think, and if I step on somebody's point, not my intention, I do think the internet has become the great equalizer, because these players now are so great, it doesn't matter where they play. People are going to come to them and they're going to watch them. And if that means going to a random game in Indiana because LaMelo is going to be there, so be it. One thing I wanted to use almost as a segue, because this was one of my predictions for the upcoming year, because Nike is kind of going through the quote-unquote metaverse and the digital verse, and it seems that everybody's favorite topic is now rearing its ugly head in sneakers as well with NFTs. I almost have a feeling that this year we might be able to hit a lot more in terms of sneakers that we want to buy, because I think everybody's going to be so invested in that NFT boom, and I just kind of wonder, like, how is that going to work? Because this is probably as pivotal a moment from a Nike perspective, because we saw some certain flirtation, let's say, with Nike in the digital sphere with the Fuel Band, which has unfortunately kind of gone the way of Crystal Pepsi for a lot of people. But what do you guys envision this metaverse looking like from a sneakerhead perspective? Because I do have a lot of interest, because I think it is that flashy buzzword. It is probably the number one conversation that almost everybody who was at their family over the holidays probably had some sort of conversation about it, whether it's I completely understand what it is and here's why we need to do it, or I'm an old man yelling at a cloud because it looks like it's going to rain.
I think it is going to be more two people, the NFT people who are just in it, like, we're going to go ahead and spend our dollars to make money. They're going to be in it regardless. But I think it's going to target the kids. If it's something that could be used inside some sort of video game that these kids are playing, this is going to be something that's going to boom. Because I think Cool Grades released like Fortnite or something, like a whole fit and everything. if that's something that translates to these games in some way or form, they got the market covered with the kids. And I mean, to your point, Rohit, I hope that it makes it easier for us to get shoes for people who actually, you know, who are staying in this space and not quite moving all the way to the NFT space. But it's going to be a huge thing if it does translate to different things they can use. Like, can I put this on an avatar on, you know, I don't know, whatever. Roblox, thank you.
Yeah, Roblox, yep.
Fortnite, or whatever it may be. Minecraft. Can I put this on my player, on my avatar? Or can I translate it? Can I show this picture on Twitter or my Xbox character? If it can do all those things, I think it is going to be a lot of people who will say, all right, well, I guess I'll spend X amount of dollars, whatever it costs to get this, as opposed to getting the shoe. Unless they attach it to the physical shoe to where, say, you buy this shoe, you get the NFT, which is going to make it harder for us to get shoes.
Or the code.
Or the code, whatever it may be, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think I'm like kind of in a weird spot with this stuff because on one hand, like I never, you know, like I rarely play video games at all. And I also pay attention to like 2K and you know, when shoes started popping up in those games, right? Like, you know, it's not really new. It's new being attached to the blockchain and actually having like some substantial value potentially for the user as opposed to just for the game maker. But I think that, you know, I look at it in a different way because as somebody who's put content out essentially for free when I, you know, unless I was able to like have a job where I was getting paid for it, you know, it's been 15 years of my life putting out content. And, you know, we've talked about it a number of times, but like there's been a lot of times where my name is no longer attached to that work. And I really have no way of proving what I wrote for your favorite sneaker blog in 2007 or 2008 or 2011 or 2013. But I did, you know, so like for me, I think that like potentially there's a kind of a bigger picture solution to accountability on the internet, which I'm fully aware is kind of ironic considering we repost other people's stuff every day on the Sneaker History Instagram account, right? But, you know, I would rather see people get, you know, whatever, you know, commission or whatever dues are due to them, you know, like because they did the work and they created the content, whatever that is. And so I think that, you know, in terms of the gaming stuff and in terms of like the brands getting involved, you know, like it or not, this is not going away, right? Like there's way too many people that have invested billions of dollars into this behind the scenes, you know, and these are the same types of people that have invested in the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Googles and all of these companies that, you know, are essentially like a handful of monopolies that run the internet right now, right? Between like Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook and Google, there's not too many other players out there that really have much to say. And I'm sure many of those companies are behind a lot of this, you know, kind of metaverse type stuff and the NFT stuff. But, you know, like talking to Fran on this, you know, on a podcast episode months back, you know, there's a lot of independent creators that have found ways to like find dedicated fans and create things that they're actually making royalties off of. So, you know, I hope that it doesn't just become like, okay, cool, Nike is in this with Artifact, Adidas is in with, you know, Bored Apes, and nobody else even really matters, because that's going to be the worst of it, right? Like, is if they essentially erase, you know, if they steal all the hype and the energy that could potentially be distributed more evenly, which is like, at least in theory, the reason for Web3 in this kind of new era of the internet where we're headed. But I don't know, man. I'm optimistic about it, but I'm also just like super cautious, because I think that it's impossible to keep up with it. And there's, you know, just like anything, anything new, there's as many scammers as there are, you know, real ones, especially right off the bat, until you get some rules put in place and you get some people like really kind of looking out for each other. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
I'm only interested if the MB1, the LaMelo Ball shoe, comes in like an NFT where like the collar actually becomes Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and like if I could do something like that, I'd be interested. If it's not that, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
If it's Sonia Sotomayor.
No, it's only if it's RBG.
RBG and LaMelo Ball, the crossover we always wanted, but we never knew could happen.
Never knew we needed it, right?
Has to get super metaverse. Has to be the MB1 by Puma, and then RBG comes to the collar, and then a mug forms around RBG, and it's a mug with the shoe and her on it.
The only thing I want to add on top of that judge's robe better be like Charlotte Teal. Otherwise, I'm out.
That'd be sick.
Have you seen the black colorway he wears? It looks just like a judge's robe with teal outlines on the.
Bro. Yeah. That's why I'm saying it. But also at the same time, I kind of made fun of it when the shoe first came out. It looks good, especially with like the matching socks of the team.
It's dope.
It's a good looking thing, but
I
was gonna say metaverses. My real verse isn't that bad, so I'm just not.
Yeah, I'm cool here too.
Metaverses.
I'm straight.
Yeah, it's like life's not that bad out here. I'll wear my Nipsies. I'm gonna hustle. Forget harmony or internet. I'm gonna hustle. You know.
I feel like a wiener.
Got Nick good on that one.
You didn't force that one at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the interesting thing about it is like I've been messing with this kind of stuff for quite a while, and like I think there's going to be things we can't even really fathom yet that come from this stuff, right? And it's going to be all the stuff you wish you could do within sneakers, right? It's going to be getting to interview people, it's going to be getting to go to events, all based on having and being a part of this like new world that is being created. And part of it is like I hate part of it in a sense because it's just like the FOMO of every release, right? Like the programming that we all have to say like, damn, I wish I could have got those. Oh, they're sold out. And here's your L every day is just going to be even more over the top because now when Nike, hosts a basketball camp or has a event at Art Basel or at Complex Con, you'll need to have the NFT as access or early access or access to the product. And, I think there's a lot of cool things that could come from that because you'll start to see people buy and sell and trade those NFTs to get access to things that they really care about as opposed to just things that they think are just hyped up. But at the same time, it's a really slippery slope with all that stuff because we're already in a position where most of us don't get the opportunity to buy shoes that we really like. And, not that we could afford to buy all the shoes we like at this point anyway, because there's so many that are releasing. But it's going to be interesting. I think the way it plays out will be really fascinating. But I was going to ask, just in terms of like, what do you guys see yourselves kind of moving towards as wanting to cop? I mean, we kind of joked ahead of time about, saying that you're going to cop less, but my first thought about all of that was like, I want to focus more on new technology, right? Like just like random stuff, the GT Jump, some of the new 3D printed Adidas stuff, like, but then I see fire reds and infrared 4s and I'm like, well, am I not going to want this? Like,
God damn it, I'm sold.
You got me.
God damn it, I'm in. Yeah. That Rick and Morty meme.
Yeah,
God
exactly.
damn it, I'm in.
Dude.
Bro, I mean, I totally forgot. I mean, my shoe for 2022, I mean, I've been looking at it the entire time we've been talking since Nick brought it up. That EQT elevation is going to be a problem. Yeah. Even if it's like, because Nick, I know which ones you were talking about with like the worst materials
vinyl
ever.
Everywhere.
If they do this with any kind of justice and maybe give me some new colorways, maybe dip into some other, it's like the late 90s, the early Kobe stuff. I am extremely interested. It doesn't have to say his name on it for me personally. Yeah. I just want it now. I never wanted it before. And that FOMO, I didn't buy the $40 pair. So now I really want a pair. So that's going to be my thing. And Adidas basketball going to be taking some money from me.
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat as you there with Adidas basketball, but I think I'm aiming more for more, I don't want to say like cliche, but more timeless models, things that will really stand the test of time, because things like the New Balance, the 990 V6 is going to be coming out soon. Things like that are going to stand the test of time. I can wear it and it looks better over time. I mean, yeah, there's going to be some Jordan ones that are going to try to take my money, like those dark Marina blues. I mean, look, they're not going to release a Royal anytime soon, so I'm trying to fill that void with something. But I think there's a lot of cool things out there, from the Adidas Kobe's to I'm just waiting for these things to go on sale. But like the T-Mac Resto mods, things like that, I know it's really nostalgic, but it's things I liked, and they're actually coming back out in a better fashion. So those things to me are just timeless models, classic basketball from Hall of Fame players who really molded my childhood when it came to sports. That's probably going to be the thing that, empties my pockets.
Playoff 12s too. Mike said multiple pairs. I'm going to jump back out, but playoff 12s also take my money.
Those two,
totally, and I'm
12s,
done.
Yes. Yep, take my dollars, because that's what I need.
I mean, I'm kind of in that same boat with I want to get I want to get at least a couple pairs of that, like Exhibit A Candace Parker shoe, because that shoe is super fire. It's on sale already in a lot of sizes. I haven't seen like the colors that I want on sale, but I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I think is like, it's like forgotten, right? It's like, what are we going to think back to and think, oh, that was an interesting shoe that we should have bought 5 years from now. To me, that's one of those shoes that's like, it's kind of like the Dame shoes, right? I always think I'm gonna get this colorway of the Dame shoe, and like I've gotten probably 4 or 5 Dame shoes, but definitely not as many as I wanted to get. And after the fact, it's like impossible to find because it's not a hype shoe, and you just don't see it available places, right? Especially like in a size 13 for me, it just doesn't seem like it's out there. But I don't know.
Yeah. What about you, Rohit? What you looking for this year? Anything that's really catching your eye that you kind of have the dollar set aside for?
Well, he thinks. Let me tell you, that Cardinal 3-2 from the Jordan 7 look.
Yeah.
Here we are saying, well, we don't need no Jordans.
I never said that. I just know it's gonna. I'm trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
I can't not say it. I mean, it's like, damn, that Cardinal. Like Cardinal 7's always, I say, top 5 red. Shades of red in the color. Jordan repertoire. People never talk about it enough. But God damn it. I didn't think it would work. I didn't know I needed it on a Jordan 3 until I saw it. Like the little eyelets and the gold. Man, that's a problem.
Isn't it crazy though? Like, I think it was probably like a year ago, we actually did an episode talking about all the colors that would look good on other Jordans.
Sounds
right?
About right.
We did.
Yeah.
And it's like this year you got the Cardinal 3s, infrared 4s. There's a Hoya's 6 now.
There's a Racer Blue 5.
Racer Blue 5s, UNC 6. Like
there's the black and purple 13 from like 2 weeks ago. I think those are
cool. It comes out this week.
Oh, the black and purple.
Yeah, it comes out Saturday, I think.
Again, gorgeous shoe.
Things like the Muslin 3, that tan canvas one coming out. I really want to see what that looks like in hand, because that looks like a pretty solid shoe.
The Georgetown, right? Mm-hmm. The Georgetown Jordan one we were just talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, I mean, there's this, we just rattled off 8, 9 different pairs of Jordans. The UNC 6s, my God.
That's a beautiful shoe. I'm going to ask for help on that one. But see, look, we got to that same trap though. They get us because they're so, they know how to get us with these particular colorways. And we fall into that same trap like, dang, we just rattled off, like you said, 8 of them. And we're going to try for all 8 of them.
That's like $2,000 worth of shoes. And it's just like, none of it's feasible. It's like we're all dogs just trying to chase cars. It's like we wouldn't know what to do if we actually got one.
You just look at it.
If I actually hit on all these, I'd probably be depressed if I actually hit on all these.
Well,
yeah. And then like it's like for me, right? I don't need. I saw like the answer 1's coming back, the answer 4's coming back, the questions coming back. But like, like I don't need like a Philadelphia Eagles answer 4, but if I came across a Donovan McNabb jersey that I could throw that together with, I might need them by the time they come around.
It's easy to find a need
you on the right day.
It's easy.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But okay, here's the question for you guys. I already know my answer, but if you guys, it's not a real thing. I hate when people say to pick one thing, but if you had to pick one sneaker, just one sneaker that you know of releasing, what is that you want to get? For me, the rumors of the Big Bang LeBron 9 coming back out, if I had to pick one for the year, I'm cool with just that one. What about you guys?
Easiest answer in my life. Playoff 12s is one of them. Like, I think there's a small handful of OG 1 to 14 colorways that I've never had. And that's one.
Same.
The kid in middle school used to pick on me in 2004, 8th grade. He had them on. So like, I think about him picking on me, and it's just like, man, I didn't have the shoes. Like, I might even buy 2 of those things. I probably won't.
You gonna send them a pair? You gonna send them a pair after you get them, just to be like, hey,
hell no.
I forgive you.
But no, just like that shoe, I've always wanted a pair of playoff 12s, and I just never had an opportunity.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I mean, for me, definitely those Kerwin Frost Adidas Micro Bounce.
Get out of the house. Get out. Leave.
Kerwin's dope.
No, I think I'm with Robbie. Like the playoff 12s, I've never had a pair. You know, the Obsidian 12s were one of my first, Jordans. So I would love to get both of those colorways at some point again. Yeah. So I'll definitely be after those. Hopefully, hopefully Jordans are have fallen off by then. I feel like I feel like we're kind of at the point where retro Jordans should be falling off a little bit. There's just way too much other stuff out there. And I feel like the resale market has died, quite a bit. Not necessarily died, but it's just down. It's just leveled off a little bit. Yeah. And I think that is something that I look forward to as well. Just kind of, I haven't looked at Watch the Throne, LeBron 9s or anything, but like assuming stuff like that is like, yeah, there's some nostalgia for it, but it's also like the rest of the LeBron stuff, right? Yeah. I mean, when the South Beach LeBrons were supposed to come back, we were all pretty excited about it. By the end of the year, I don't think any of us picked up that shoe.
I tried.
Probably could have for pretty close to retail, if not retail, at some point along the way. But yeah.
I mean, so like with the resale falling off, the playoff 12, I'm a buyer and not a seller with that shoe. So power to me. If I miss out on the first run and I only have to pay $40 over retail, no problem.
I'm right there with you.
So
I mean, but Roy, before you fell off there, I was asking the guys if you could only pick one shoe, like hypothetically, this year, that anything you've seen that rumored to come out or for sure is coming out, what would that one shoe be? Like, what would you want to buy?
That's a great question. I mean, I really haven't been keeping up with this year's releases, but this was kind of something I was hoping to chat about when it was my turn in terms of what I was hoping to buy this year. Last year was probably my heaviest volume of being quote-unquote a sneakerhead because I had missed that employee discount, so to speak, so that allowed me to live my best life again. And it was one of those things where I kind of bucked some trends that I previously was very arrogant and obnoxious about. Case in point, my shoe of the year, like I think a lot of America's, which was the Ama Manye 3, I famously said, I'm not copying any Jordan that's not the OG colorway. And lo and behold, your boy had a whole omelet on his face. He was that embarrassed by such a proclamation. And it's one of those things where what I hope will be my shoe of the year is something I don't even know is coming out. And it's just going to be one of those aha moments that we previously chatted about when 5 years down the line, when I get the courage to do Inside Rohit's Closet, because Robbie's been killing the closet shoe game for a while, it's going to hopefully elicit that same reaction of me opening the box and being like, yeah, this is why I wanted this sneaker for this moment, because I am grinning like a Cheshire cat, and this is a fantastic sneaker. But that LeBron 9, just because of the fact that it goes back to that 3 Wiseman era, like it was the holy grail, because I knew 2 people that had that, and they were not LeBron, but they were pretty close up to that level. And I'm like, oh, you sons of, that is a beautiful shoe. So I'm hoping that the death of the resale market is actually there, and maybe a couple months down the line, if I have anything left from this damn house move, I may try to purchase those What the Throne 9s. Or Watch the Throne 9s, What the Thrones. Please, there you go, Nike. That's your next idea, the What the Thrones.
There's a free Rohit special.
Yeah.
Joffrey's throne. LeBron's
all right, so
throne.
what? Let's say we said we weren't going to do this, but I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Like, what's the over and under? What are you guys buying this year? How many pairs are you buying?
I'm scared to answer that question because I get like already completely over because of the YouTube channel. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna be probably upwards of 40 pairs, and that's being really probably conservative, and that's scary to say. God, I can't do that. I need to sell some things for my soul. And I said to my wallet stuff.
As Mike takes inventory, I will go a far less adventurous 40, and I will say, it depends if the wife is within earshot. Let's go for 7.5.
Yo, I need a sponsorship. Someone sponsor me now.
Yeah, please get Mike a sponsorship. And if need be, Mike, if I don't hit my 7.5, you can have my remainder to account towards yours. Much like you asked me to enter in terms of your raffle, I will give you my pairs that I don't buy, hopefully.
I mean, oof.
I feel like Robbie's got the calculator going over there.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking
going
like,
across.
no, I'm like, we're already on the 6th. We're on January 6th, and I already have acquired 4 pairs.
Oh my God. You win.
Since the 6th.
You win.
That's a 10% of Mike's output.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you very much, Reebok. Thank you very much, Puma. Thank you very much, On.
For sure.
Like I don't ask for these things, but they come across as like, damn, bro, like 6 days.
No, we're talking about. I didn't account for like our friends who were gracious enough to give us send us things. I mean, coming out of out of Robbie's pocket into Robbie's closet.
Yeah, let's go with purchases only.
Yeah. Well, then still, if I mean, 6 days in, I'm already at 1 then.
That's fine. That's in.
I'm at 1 as well.
So what, 52 pairs, huh?
Yeah, right? No, I'm thinking.
Dude, I just got queasies thinking of that.
I'm going to say net purchase of 15. Because, I mean, this week alone, I've already sold 5 pairs on eBay. 1 on StockX, 4 on eBay out the closet. So I think net I'll be up 15 out of my own pocket. But like I've really been letting go of stuff. I just don't post about it because nobody wants my used stuff. I just put it on eBay, and I don't want to haggle with my own friends, so I don't even put it.
I got $5
on eBay. I don't want to talk to nobody about it.
$5
So I'll say probably net 15 of my own.
All right, I'm gonna be down like at least 100 pair this year. I want to get rid of at least 100 pairs of shoes.
This is recorded, right?
Yeah, let's come back to it. We're going to come back to this at the end of the year. I'm going to get rid of at least 100 pairs of shoes this year.
That.
You know, this is not a bragging thing, but that still leaves me with many hundreds left. So, like, don't buy sneakers, people. Yeah. I know that you listen to us to hear about sneakers, but, like, my one piece of advice is just, like, don't bother. You've got enough of them.
Man, Nick, let's do
that
this.
That said, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to go with under 20 purchases.
What was your number, Nick?
Under 20 purchases.
Under 20, okay.
I feel gross saying that out loud, guys. You don't understand. Like, I really just hurt myself, and like, I need to I'm gonna borrow shoes. I'm not buying. I'm just gonna borrow from people. Like, through Discord. I'm gonna borrow these.
This week's edition of First World Problems brought to you by Sneaker History.
Yeah. We might have to cut the end of this episode off and make it Patreon exclusive because we know those people like, you know, understand and you know,
it's a safe space.
It's a safe space for us. You know?
My name is Mike. Has a problem.
Yeah. Cool. Well, man, it's been good to catch up.
Oh yeah.
Anything else we need to run through?
No. I need to go hustle, so
me both.
I gotta go.
Need to hustle, man. Yep.
All right. Well, I'm pretty stoked because I know we've got
2022. Rick Ross gets the signature shoe. Watch.
He already had one.
Hey, that'd be dope.
Every day I'm hustling.
I thought he did.
He had a Reebok back in the day, but he's
gonna get another one somewhere. With D-Wade.
And he was in a Nike commercial because he had the chain that said "Boom."
He does everything.
Yeah.
2022 though. He has a signature shoe.
We in room 222.
It's going to be called the Thin Ross. And there's a new picture of a skinny Diana Ross on the back of it.
2022, we're going to get some advertisers on the podcast. So if you're listening and you know somebody that should be advertising on the podcast, introduce us, hit us up, let us know.
Female listeners, female correspondents as well. Let's do the ladies game as well.
Yeah, how funny would it be?
We've actually got a I'm pretty stoked for the next few episodes after this one, because I've got at least one interview on the way that is going to be well worth your time to kind of dig into, like an outsider perspective of sneakers, I guess. Not an outsider necessarily, but like just a more business perspective than consumer perspective from the female side too, which I think
person's just like,
really...
you're stupid buying all these shoes. You're
right.
responsible. You're stupid.
Well, yeah, that's definitely part of.
I don't have with your broke ass no more.
But I am pretty stoked to get back to it and get some new folks on the podcast as guests. So
yeah, dude, I'm looking forward. It's gonna be a
killer
good year, man. It's gonna be a great one.
All right, guys, let's let everybody know how they can find you on the social medias out there.
On socials, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789, and go hit that subscribe button on YouTube, please, guys. I gotta support this habit along with paying my bills, so go ahead, hit that button. We gotta pay the bills around here. It's at Mike Giller at YouTube, and Robbie, Rohit, where can they find you?
You got really serious after
No,
that.
I'm just saying, hey, man, I ain't doing this for free no more. We can't do this for free no more.
The first hit is free.
The first was free. Now,
I'm sorry, this is all really lighthearted. It's like Mike Giller.
Government name Mike over there.
My government.
You can find my OnlyFans at Trixie. No, you can find me at Sneaker History. It's the only place you need to follow.
Follow me on Twitter at Roheezy, on Instagram at RohitM13, and if you follow me in those two places, follow Sneaker History, follow Mike Gilroy on YouTube, and be a good person.
Yes, definitely. You can follow me at Nick Engvall on all the platforms. Hop into the Discord and be a part of the community. There's some really great people in there, and honestly, they probably have helped us all pick up shoes that we wouldn't have had otherwise, which is one of my favorite byproducts of having a big group of friends to talk about sneakers on the internet. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Goodbye.
Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, I wanted to thank you for listening to the Sneaker History Podcast. We've revamped our Patreon with new tiers and even more access to exclusive podcasts and other benefits. You can join for as little as $5 a month at patreon.com/sneakerhistory. If you're not ready to jump in and support to keep the podcast independent in that way, consider joining our Discord community. We've got a bunch of fun things going on in the community, including trivia nights, giveaways, access to hundreds of sneaker raffles from around the world, release announcements, most importantly, just good people helping good people get the sneakers they want. We've also teamed up with a few partners to offer our supporters exclusive discounts. You can find some of those in the links for this episode, but even more in our Discord. Give us a try, and if you don't enjoy it, you can always just cancel the membership at any time. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.